This is Never Clocked Out Podcast, Episode 1 with Noah Hawley.
Black Ford parked where the blacktop ends. Cold night air and a fire with friends. Game or no game, it all works out. It's the hunt that stays never clocked out.
Welcome to the Never Clocked Out Podcast, Episode 1 with Dash 3, child number 3, Noah Hawley. Sponsored by C&H Precision and Grounds and Rounds, located in Richmond Hill, Georgia. How you doing, Noah?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining me on spring break and we're rejuvenating our podcast and kicking off Episode 1. And you are Episode 1 because you requested to be Episode 1, so here we are. How are you like that?
I like it a lot. It brings back our first Episode 1 that we ever did.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to lead a little intro here. Today we're talking about someone who's grown up at the intersection of grit, creativity, and discipline. Noah Hawley, the third child of Buck Hawley, and a young woman carving out her own identity. Noah isn't sitting on the sidelines. She's in the field, literally, an avid hunter who understands patience, preparation, and respect for the outdoors and firearms. That alone tells you a lot about how she's wired. But she doesn't stop there. She's also a guitar player and a singer, not just dabbling, but putting in the reps, learning how to perform in front of a large audience, how to express something real, and how to stay consistent when nobody's watching. That combination of discipline and creativity is rare. And then there's the bigger picture. Noah is stepping into the world of engineering and entrepreneurship. She's thinking about how things are built, how systems work, and how to turn ideas into something tangible. That mindset, paired with the environment she's growing up in, puts her on a very interesting trajectory that not many other kids are on. In this episode, we're going to learn about potential, direction, and the early stages of building life with intention. So here we go.
Here we go.
So why don't you take this opportunity to tell people a little bit about you, who you are, where you live, and what you're up to.
My name is Noah Hawley. I grew up in Richmond Hill, Georgia for about the past 9 or 10 years. In January, I moved to North Carolina with my mom, and we've been there for the past 2 or 3 months. New school, new things to learn, but I like it up there. And then I grew up in the gun industry just from being around it through mom and dad. And then just being able to experience all of that type of stuff was good because it taught me responsibility, and not only that, but how I can put myself in real world situations to teach myself and to get out of things, or even put myself in situations that I need to be in for future things.
Good. So growing up in the firearms industry with a mom and a dad and a stepmom that are in the firearms industry, what advantages do you think that's given you in life?
I think that taught me a lot of the responsibility and the expectations I can have for myself now, because not all kids are experienced and are given that opportunity to see firearms and see how they work. So I think it's good that I was able to experience that type of stuff, because as a young kid, some kids aren't given the advantage to see and to be around that. So if they come up on a firearm and they find it in the house, something bad can go wrong.
What do you remember the game that when we lived in Florida, we played a little game when you were a toddler?
I do. I remember it.
So describe the game that we made up and we played every day.
So every night when my dad would come home, he would take off his firearm, or he would even just put the firearms, or he would put a knife in the hallway and
on a table or something.
Yeah, and I would walk around, and if I found one, I would point at it, step away, and I would yell out, "Danger, danger," and I would get a jelly bean if I found one.
One jelly bean every day when you found Dad's knife or his pistol or both, right?
Mind, I did hack the system and I found the loophole. So when he would come home every day and he would take off his belt and everything and put it on his nightstand, I knew where he was. And whenever he would run over to, or whenever he would go to the bathroom, I would run into his room and I would go to his nightstand and I knew where it was. So I'd point at it and go, "Danger, danger." So he had to give me a jelly bean.
Well, that's an important game that we taught you and our other kids because you were around firearms and you knew what they were and what they did, knives and guns and etc. And we play that game, and I recommend this game to any parents that have small children because it removes the curiosity of if you can't ever see them and you can't ever touch them, then it piques kids' curiosity. Then they want to touch them and they want to find them and they want to see what they do. But with you, we made it into a game and rewarded you by not touching them. And that decreased my anxiety and my fears of you going to someone else's house and seeing a pistol or a knife out on the counter, reachable by a toddler, knowing that you wouldn't grab it. And although everybody should practice firearm safety and storing things properly, sometimes like this, when you come home from work and you take off your gun belt or your knife, you put them in a place and you get distracted, a phone rings and something, and you don't want an accident to happen. So that's exactly why we played that game. And I encourage all parents to maybe take that and use it as well. So that was a fun game. What is something that you think that I got right as a dad?
I don't want to say discipline because it was never discipline, but I think it was teaching me what was right and wrong, because kids are taught how to be respectful, responsible, and etiquette. And I don't think that enough kids take that into account of real life. And I think, like, the saying YOLO, like you only live once, can be taken into account at certain moments. But I don't think that kids take it into account enough that at the age you're at, even though you're still young, you have the chance of meeting people that are going to take a big role in your future. Like, you could meet someone that could be your future boss, even at the age you're at. And if you're acting crazy and running around and making a fool of yourself, you're not going to be able to have that responsibility. And yeah, like, you're young, you still have this mindset, you like, "Oh, I forgive you," but that's still at the account where you taught me enough that there's so many lessons that you taught me, and just being in that business and being around you so much really showed me how I can be a better person and how I can do certain things to grow myself.
Well, we actually, just an hour or two ago, we were having the same conversation. We won't name any names, but there might have been a little get together, a little party, and again, this is something that I wish more parents spoke with their kids about. So today, on the way back, when I came home to get you because you slept in, on the way back to work, we basically had what we call in the military an after action report. So we reviewed what happened yesterday or the day before. And in your case, we might have had 10 or 15 kids over. And what did we talk about?
We talked about how certain kids could have shown more responsibility and how certain people could have been more responsible and respectable of the environment they were in, and just things like that, knowing when to act a certain way in a certain place and time.
Well, it was pretty obvious that there were a couple people that we talked about that may have gotten a little ambitious or
Bold
or acted out of line, and it's one thing if that happens once, but if it starts to be a recurring theme, maybe those aren't the best people to have in your sphere of people around you and your influence, because if somebody shows a tendency to do dumb things, act a certain way, what could possibly go wrong?
Everything.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's as a dad, raising my last child and having been through two other ones prior to you, I wish I would have been a little more vocal and critiquing of some of their friends, and it may have kept them out of some hot water, so to speak, in the past. And that's what I'm doing with you now. So, what's your earliest memory about being in the business?
So the main one that I can think of, just CNH in general, was I remember I was at home still when the shop was in LaBelle, Florida, and Mom and I were on FaceTime with you, and I remember the phone was super glitched, like it was just glitching out, like everything was kind of just slow. And we were telling you, I was like, Dad, like, make sure you be safe because there was a hurricane coming through. And I was like, Dad, like, are you okay? And you were like, yep, I'm just putting towels under the shop doors so none of the water gets in. And I remember it. And the next one I think I remember right after that was when we went to our first OTOA, our show, and we were on the water slides and everything. And I took two of our chairs that we had and I took a nap on them.
So you've been around a few places, haven't
Yeah.
you? And earlier in your introduction, I told the audience that you're an avid hunter. So where have you hunted and what have you hunted?
So I think my first memory I have was hunting was when we were still in Florida, and we went to the Orange Grove. There's a YouTube video about it, but I shot a 350-pound hog when I was 3.5, and we went out one morning, we didn't see anything, and then I woke up at 4:15, and I yelled out, Dad.
AM?
Yeah, and I said, Dad, I want to go shoot a piggy. So we got out, and we went and we pulled up, and there were 2 hogs right where we wanted them.
Right underneath a feeder.
Yeah.
So we set up you had a little 223, Remington 700 and a 223 with a suppressor, and we put it on a little tripod.
It was an AAC.
Yep, had an AAC can on it from Kevin Brittingham, and we got about 150 yards away, and you could see him through the thermal.
Yep.
And he was huge.
And you said, okay, you ready? Shoot him. And then I shot him, and I was like, oh, is he down? And then we watched him take a couple steps off, and then you can just see him in the video. Falls over. And then once we moved here, we went hunting out in Vienna, Georgia, and we have our little farm out there. And one night I shot a 8-point buck, and then the morning after I shot a 6-point. It was a pretty thick 6-point.
Oh, actually, that first night we got there right just before sunset.
Yep.
And Bucky, who was the 6-point, he was walking up the road towards the house, and he stepped out in the cotton field, and we blasted him.
Yeah, we had our eyes on that deer for a year or two.
Yeah, big 6-pointer.
And
then the following morning, you shot the 8-pointer in the middle of the cotton field.
So then 2 summers ago, we went to Africa for a month, and the first week we would go out every day, even during the power outages, which I thought was really cool.
The brownouts?
Yes. I shot a zebra, a wildebeest, and a black impala. Was there one more?
Mm-hmm.
A zebra, a wildebeest, a black impala, and an oryx.
Yep.
That was it. And then we came back and we went to Texas for a photo shoot when we were sort of hunting, sort of not, but we are going to go hunting this hunting season. We're going to shoot
at the ranch.
Yeah, we're going to shoot some aoudad, which I'm very excited for. And
how do you like the ranch?
Oh, I like it a lot. Maris Adventures. I enjoy the ranch a lot. I think it's super cool to be out there and just kind of ride around everything.
Well, you probably like it because you get to drive the Jeep.
Yeah.
In the canyon.
Mm-hmm.
what's one thing about your childhood you're glad you got to experience
I
that
think
probably
this
some other kids haven't?
I think this kind of circles back to our jelly bean game. I like that, and I think that experiencing that was one of the things I really enjoy because not and just growing up in the gun industry. Like that really genuinely does give me a different perspective of certain things
Mm-hmm.
because I think that that shows me that when I'm like looking at different situations, like when people say like, "Oh, we're in the middle of World War III," like, "Oh, I can't believe that certain people of political powers made these decisions." I'm like, "Okay, but you also have to look at certain things from a different perspective, like where we could be." It's just hard to see certain people say certain things like, "Oh, guns are so cool, guns are so scary," but it's kind of like growing up in that position. It was cool to see and do certain things and shoot PRS matches and go out and be a part of PRS Kids and kind of like see you shoot those matches. Like I feel like that put a big influence on the things that I get to do now.
Well, you're definitely one of the kids in the world that is not afraid of doing hard things. Um, you haven't been raised in a way that's super entitled and everything's done for you. So, as your parents, both your parents or all your parents make you do things that a lot of kids these days aren't encouraged or made to do. So I think that's going to have a tremendous effect on your future. And it's really going to help give you a heads up. I mean, everybody that I talk to that interacts with you first comments on how respectful, how intelligent, and you're not afraid to have a conversation with adults. And I think that stems from growing up with a lot of adults around you and getting to experience a lot of things that other kids maybe don't get to do. I mean, you go
Yeah.
to the ranch and you drive a 4-wheel drive Jeep around some canyon that most adults are scared to drive around, and you just think it's normal.
Yeah, there are certain kids who used to come up to me when they knew that I was at the range or something. They'd be like, "I'm better at shooting than you." And I would be like, "You can be as good as you want to be and you can be better than me, but I don't really care about I obviously care about my accuracy, but that's more of me wanting to be able to defend myself and have that sense. Like, I'm not going to go around trying to brag to people like, "Oh yeah, like we could have a shootout right now and we could aim at that target and I would definitely have more accuracy." Like, you can have more accuracy than me, but I mean, in the end, like it's just that mentality of knowing that I have the ability to defend myself in any situation I'm in. I mean, that's what really counts.
So, what do you think? What do you see in your future? Like college, no college,
So
working for
definitely
somebody?
college. I definitely see that happening. At the high school I plan on going to, there are a couple things like carpentry and just being able to do automotives and stuff. And then I plan on going to college and um, studying. Obviously, I have a very open window of what I'm looking at, but either studying engineering or business. And then I want to come back and I want to kind of, not take over the glory, but I want to see everything here in a deeper understanding and further aspects and maybe take it over one day.
Oh, so you're gonna jump in the boss's seat, put me out to pasture?
Yep.
Oh, well, you're 14 now, so we got 4 years of high school left, and then 3 or 4 years of college, and then you can come back. So I got 8 years left. Think I can make it that long?
I think you can.
Okay, good. What other things in the future do you aspire to do, or what are some additional goals aside from coming back and maybe working with dad and running a business and being an entrepreneur? What else excites you about the future, or what opportunities are in your path that you really want to take advantage of?
It's not really about the opportunities for me. I think it is more about how people see me. I just want to be seen as a person who is like when somebody sees me, I want to be respected. I want to be the type of person where it's, "Hey, like I want you to meet this person." And I want to be the person where people can call me knowing that if they need something, like I can provide for them and I want to have like how you have CNH. Like I want to be able to have something like that where I know that like I'm growing something to its full potential.
Well, if you come back and run my company, maybe you can grow it even bigger and have more potential.
Yeah.
Maybe I just haven't done a great job yet. What else do you want to tell me?
What do you see in my future?
I see a very promising future for you. You come from a family who started with little or nothing. So you've had a easier life than your two older siblings, and you're certainly have an easier life than I have. But I think we've made, your mom and I have worked really hard to make sure that you respect that and understand that. But looking back, I, I, I honestly envy the position that you're in now. There are certain things I've had to overcome in my past, not having a great start in life and some challenges that you obviously haven't had. So I think that you're in your path, you have a greater opportunity to achieve the same and much more than I have at an earlier age. So, my parents didn't even offer to pay for college, nor could they. They would have offered to pay for college if they had the financial means. You don't have that challenge, so there's not a whole lot for you to worry about going to college. So we're gonna get you into a good college and make sure you study hard and get good grades. Then you have a good opportunity afterwards. And I think we've got a couple schools picked out that would suit your needs really well. And then it's off to the races after that. I think you have a lot of opportunities, whether it's coming back here and working in the business, or maybe your musical talents will take over, and maybe you want to be a singer-songwriter in Nashville and make music, and you'll always have an education to fall back on if for whatever reason it doesn't work out or you don't want to do it anymore. Going to college and getting the education and being part of a family business always gives you something to fall back on. So I see several opportunities in your future, whether it's in the family business. I think that you're more creative and smarter than I ever have been or ever will be. And if we can harness that in your own business, which I would probably help you create and start, or if you harness that into our current business, there's endless opportunities for you to take over here, run this, start your own thing. And then the other added benefit of that is that since I have been in my own business sphere for so long, there's so many lessons that I can help bring to the table to help prevent you from making some of the decisions that I made that either set me back or took me longer to achieve the goals that I had. So, again, between your parents and the surroundings that we have here, the great employees that we have here, and the mentorship that you have access to, there's no reason to believe that you won't be just an outstanding success in the future as a young lady. Very, very confident, very well spoken, and that translates well into anything that you want to do. I selfishly hope you come back and work here and help run the business. I won't make you, nor do I expect you to. I want you to carve your own path and do what you want to do. But a lot of times people get some advice that I don't always necessarily agree with. And people in your position who have advantages that other people do, a lot of times they get this advice of follow your dreams and find your passion. And well, here's what I tell you. You pick a career that you can do and earn enough money so that you can follow your passions. In the last 30 years, I never woke up, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, I never woke up and said, boy, I sure hope one day I have this big machine shop and we're just cranking out pistol parts. Never once. I mean, that's not sexy. It's not glamorous. But it has afforded us as a family to prosper and do a lot of really cool things. So owning and running a machine shop and a design company wasn't my passion,
Mhm.
but it does afford you and I to follow our passions, right?
Yeah, I
Hun-
think that dreams can be seen in two different perspectives. I think that the first one is there's two different ways. So there's like an optimistic way, and then there's like this is what you should see. Like the first way is follow your dreams, and that's what everybody always says. Follow your dreams. God wouldn't give you that dream if it wasn't achievable. God wouldn't put that in your head if you couldn't do it. But at the same time, you also have to have your expectations, and you have to say, okay, like this is where I want to get to first. You have to pace yourself because you're not going to get out of high school, out of college, and you're not immediately going to be an astronaut. Like, that's not how it works. So you have to set yourself up to where, like, you have to have these achievable things that you can get to and to get to a certain place. I mean, like, just for example, the astronaut thing. Like, I did a study in math the other day. It was a project, and it was where we actually called it the Crush Your Dreams project. And it was where we compared the probability and statistics of becoming an office worker or a normal job to being an NBA or an NFL player. And I actually did mine on the statistics of an NBA versus an NHL player or an NFL or something. And the probability was, I'm pretty sure it ended up being like 1 in almost 1,000 high school kids, or 1,000 kids that get out of one high school class will end up becoming an NFL player. And it was just kind of crazy to see that. Like, you actually have to have your expectations to a point where you should have something in your mind. Like, if this doesn't work out, even though you want it to, you have to have something you can fall back on, you can look at, because you're not always going to end up achieving that dream, whether God put it in your mind or not.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, a little bit off topic there. So, how does faith factor into your future and what you're doing now and what you plan to do in the future?
I think faith is the factor. I think, like, I know it's a weird way to put it, but I think that faith is something that I can always look for and look towards. And it's kind of just thinking, like, God has put me in all of these situations and set me up for all of these things for a reason. He wants me to turn into a certain person. So when I think to myself, like, why is this happening? Like, why am I living a certain way? It's for a reason. And God wants me to be set up in this place. Like, just how you said in the 30 years, you never woke up and wanted to manufacture parts for pistols. But God did a certain thing and put you in that position, and now you're here, and now you are in this room in this moment, and you are a successful person, and that is because he's put you here. So I think that faith factors into my future, because no matter what and no matter what happens, there's always something coming.
So, why do you think God put me in this position?
I think God put you in this position because no matter what ups and downs you've gone through, no matter who you are as a person, He wants you to live out the things that, how do I put this? Like, if you went through a certain time in your life where, like you said, like, your parents couldn't afford college, or you couldn't afford to do these things. So now that you look back and you saw that, you're not caring for only yourself, but the people around you. And the amount of things that you have put in, like caring for me and Bobo and Sissy, like, that amount of not being, like, the unselfishness is what God has given to you. And He's putting you in this position because He knows that the heart He has given to you is, like, pounding in wanting to help other people. And you are now helping other people, so He wants you to be here because He is rewarding you with the kindness and things that you've given to other people around you?
Well, he's certainly given me a lot, and he's certainly opened up a lot of doors for me. And it's afforded us as a family to help a whole lot of people. And we don't have to get into the details, but I can tell you that of everything that I've ever accomplished in life, and we've been wildly successful in multiple businesses. All of that pales in comparison to the opportunities that we've given other people. And I wish I would have known that 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I would be a different person today. But again, you're right. God's got a plan. And he probably didn't put me on that path a long time ago because maybe I wasn't prepared to mentor people or give people opportunity back then. Now I am in a position to do that. So, God's got a plan and it's working out pretty well.
Well, you brought up accomplishment, and I don't want you to feel like you're bragging on yourself, but what do you think your biggest accomplishment is?
I wouldn't say it's success in business. I would say it is surrounding myself with people who needed and wanted a chance. They needed and wanted somebody to believe in them, give them an opportunity, give them a job, mentor them, and lift them up. That if after I'm gone, I hope that's really the only thing that people remember me by is the chances and opportunities that I've given to other people to succeed, give them a job, pay them well, so that they can afford to buy a car, buy a house, have a family. And those lessons in life and those opportunities that I've given them, I hope and pray that they too take advantage of those and pass them on yet again. That would be the best thing that people could remember me by. And I'm passing those things on to you.
Mm.
When and if you come back to work here, you are the type of person that will do the exact same thing because you grew up watching those lessons, and I trust that you will do those exact same things, and you have the opportunity to do them so much better than I did at a younger age. So,
Where is your dream place to hunt?
my dream place to hunt.
If you could pick one place in the world and you would be given everything you needed, you would have the gun you wanted, the bag, the tripod, everything you needed, your ears, eyes. What is the one place that if you could be teleported to right now, where would you go? And all of the game would already just be ready for you to stalk or hunt it.
I've got so many places left on my bucket list that I would say my very first choice would be anywhere that you are. If I had to have a second choice, I would love to experience, having been born and raised in Alaska. I love that high altitude, mountain, snowy wilderness. I really, really think it would be awesome to, if and when it's possible, to go to Russia.
And
Hunt.
what would be your first animal of choice to try and shoot?
There's so many. Well, I've already gotten a couple elephants. That was probably the number one bucket list item. And I was lucky and fortunate enough to get 2 in 5 days. So number one is probably ticked off the bucket list. I've still yet to get a big grizzly bear, big brown bear. I still would love to get a big, huge trophy moose. So, but those type of animals, those are probably my top 5. I also, I love the mountains. So some big, a big Marco Polo or an ibex, something that it's not always the animal, it's the adventure getting there. And the first, the elephant hunt, is one of those, both elephant hunts were amazing in different ways. And people enjoy, when I tell the story about elephant hunting, I think people really enjoy it, not so much for the fact that I got to harvest an elephant or two. It's the stories that lead up to it. Leaving base camp in the morning, loading up, and you're walking through this wild terrain. And I remember on the first elephant hunt, I was like, we're out here. Why is there 8 of us?
Yeah.
And I said, 8 people walking around here, we're making a lot of noise. And the PH, Emil, turns around and he goes, we have 8 people because 4 people are looking forward for what we're after. And 4 people have their eyes open to the left and the right and behind us for the animals that are hunting us.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, 8's a pretty good number.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be 10. So the first one, we went out to a little island and there was 6 or 7 bulls on this little island. We had a canoe out there in a dugout tree trunk. It's pretty sketchy. And the river's full of crocodiles and hippos that will eat you in a second. And my PH says, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. We're going to do it the proper way. He used proper. And he says, I say, well, what's that? And he says, we're going to get really close to this guy. We're going to get right in his personal space. I said, well, what's that? Like 100 yards? He goes, no, probably 40 or 50 yards. I said, ooh, I said, dude, I could shoot that dude from way over there. And he goes, yeah, but that's not proper. So when we ended up finding the bull, we had to circle around him to get downwind of him. And we stalked in on him. And when we rounded the corner, he wasn't where we thought he would be. He was right in front of us at 9 yards.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't see us immediately, but when we put the tripod down and when I put the rifle on top of the tripod to get lined up for a shot, he looked at me, I looked at him, and his ears flared out and I could feel the wind whooshing by me. He raised up his trunk and he took a step, he stomped on the ground, and my guide was like, shoot him. Because if we would have given him another second or two, he would have been right on top of us. I mean, that's like 2 steps for him. And he would have been stomping the daylights out of both of us. So that was the first one.
What was your scariest hunt?
It was the elephant.
Yeah.
That hunt was super scary. The second elephant came about because a hunter had canceled because he broke his leg skiing. He was like an 80-year-old guy from Germany or somewhere in Europe. Broke his leg so he couldn't come hunting the following week after me. And the PH had a week or 10 days to find somebody to come harvest this next animal. Well, getting somebody lined up to come over there in 10 days is almost impossible. So he gave me just a fantastic price for the second elephant. So the second elephant, we go off in the distance. We drive 35 or 40 miles and we're driving through the bush and we see this big elephant and we're like, oh, that's the one. Let's go get him. Well, by the time we get out of the truck, get the rifle loaded, he's gone. He's not running. He's just walking. And walking for him at a steady pace is a fast walk, almost a jog for us. And we pursued this elephant for 6 or 7 hours, walking further and further and deeper into the bush. And after 6 hours, it's 90, 95, 100 degrees. It's hot. And I didn't prepare for this as well as I should have, because when we got out of the truck, he was right there. So I just grabbed 2 bottles of water. Well, 6 hours later, my water's long gone. I've sucked up everybody else's water. Everybody's empty on water. And my head was pounding. I was done. I said, Emil, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. If we got to walk another mile, I'm not going to make it. If we're going to walk another mile, let's walk back towards the truck. So we walk up to this big termite mound. And Emil and I are standing side by side, 2 dudes in the bush in front of a termite mound, and we're taking a leak. So I set my rifle up against the termite mound, and I'm doing my business, and we're not even chatting. We're just standing there. We're both tired. And I can't hear that well, but I heard something on the other side of this termite mound. This termite mound is like 20 feet wide. It's like 20 feet tall. It's this big cone of dirt that the termites make. And I leaned over to Emil and I said, did you hear that? He goes, yeah. So I slowly zip up my pants and I peek around the corner and I take another step and peek around the corner. And right on the other side of the termite mound was the elephant, not but 20 feet away.
Yeah.
I was like, he's right there. He's right there. And he says, well, get the gun. Let's go. So we walked around the side and then we harvested him as well. So that was probably the most, the first elephant was probably the most invigorating, adrenaline-filled hunt, a little bit scary. Everything else that I've been able to harvest isn't so scary because, you know, I'm very proficient at shooting long range, so you don't have to get very close to things. But hunting in Africa in that thick bush, when there's Cape buffalo, there's lions,
Yeah.
there's leopards, there's everything over there wants to stick you, cut you, eat you. That is crazy. And I think that's why I'm drawn to those really hard hunts. And that's why I've taken you on some of those hard hunts. Is it's not so much what you're going after, it's the story leading up to the hunt.
Yeah.
The story, a little bit of the story of the hunt. And then the afterwards, like butchering, like people have no idea what it takes to butcher an elephant or a hippo. It's a 10-hour job by 30 dudes with axes and machetes. And then you got to pick up the meat and haul it over a boat and put it on a boat and paddle it across the river and put it in a truck and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like 30 trips. So that whole story is what I hope more people would do. And in this day and age, there's too few people that want to do the hard stuff. So I went to New Zealand recently and harvested a red stag. Well, they like to butcher it. They like to clean it. They like to cape it. And then they hike it out for you. I was like, I'm not going to have you hike out my red stag. Give me the red stag. I put it over my shoulder and you hike back up a mountain, put it in the side-by-side. That's that's the experience that I want. And that's the experience that I want for you and for everybody else to experience, is doing hard stuff, because it's so much better for you personally to do really hard stuff and accomplish it. You feel that sense of accomplishment rather than have everybody do everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your dream hunt?
I think I don't really have like a dream hunt, but I do definitely want to go to New Zealand. And that picture you sent me of that big moose looking thing, what was that called?
The big moose thing?
It was like, it was the one that looks like an elk.
The red stag.
The red stag. I want to go to New Zealand and I want to shoot a red stag that's bigger than yours, so I can brag on you every time that we talk about it.
Okay.
Mine was always bigger. Just, what can
Okay.
I say?
Well, let's see if we can make that come to fruition. Well, again, we got some meetings to go to, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being the number one guest, my number one favorite child. You're tied with all the rest of them. Yes, today you're my number one favorite because you're on the podcast. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for telling everybody at a ripe old age of 14 years old. I guarantee you're going to be one of the best guests that we've ever had on this podcast. So thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Black Ford parked where the blacktop ends. Cold night air and a fire with friends. Game or no game, it all works out. It's the hunt that stays, never clocked out.